here's the truth. The smartest AI on Earth can't help you if it has no hands. So why is nobody talking about this? In this video, I'm going to show you the hidden choice that shapes whether your AI coding tool actually works or just sits there looking smart. Each headline, each Twitter fight, each chart, they're all about which model is smarter. Claude versus GPT versus Gemini. But the thing that really drives if your AI gets stuff done, it's not the model, it's the wrapper around that model. And if you don't get this, you'll make a pick that hurts you more every single week. Here's the simple way to think about it. Your AI tool has two parts. The model, that's the brain. It's the smart bit that reads your question and writes a reply. That's what all the blogs compare. But then there's the rest. Does the AI work on your laptop or on some server far away? When you shut your laptop and come back the next day, does it recall what you were working on? Or does it wake up like you've never met? Can it tap into your project tools, your design files, your test setup? If you need 5 things done at once, does it handle them like a team or run each one alone with no way to talk to the others? All of that, the rest of it, that's the harness. The model is a brain in a jar, and that brain won't get much done without a body. The harness is the body. This to be a tiny blind spot if each harness looked about the same, like picking Honda versus Toyota. Same car, slightly different dash. Most folks assume that's how it works. They think each firm builds a fancy brain, and the body is just a junk shell. That's wrong. The wrappers for Claude Code and Codex are splitting apart on purpose. These aren't two flavors of one product. They stand for clashing views about how you and AI should team up. One lives in your workspace, sees each file on your drive, and builds up recall over time. The other works in a locked room with a copy of your code, thinks alone, and passes the done work back through a slot. One's a teammate sitting right next to you. The other's a hired hand in a sealed lab. Before you write this off as theory, one stat tells the whole story. At the AI Dev Summit in June 2026, Anthropic showed core benchmark scores a test that checks if agents can match real lab results. One Claude model, same exact weights, same training data. Inside Claude Code's harness, it hit 78%. Inside a new harness from a small startup, that same model only got 42%. Same brain, different body. Close to double the gap. That's not a prompt trick. You can't shrug that off. The harness did the heavy lifting juggling context, passing state from one session to the next, wiring up tools, checking results. The wrapper isn't a thin layer on top. It's what makes the model's smarts turn into real output. So what do these wrappers look like inside? Anthropic's motto is, and this'll sound way too simple, bash is all you need. Devs will laugh. Instead of making tons of custom tools with big wordy tool blurbs, Claude Code just hands the agent plain Unix commands. grep, git, npm, chained with pipes. One bash line can look up files, filter what comes back, and save it to a file. Way cheaper than 3 custom tools and way more flexible. The ML6 team found a big gap. GitHub's MCP server packs 38 tools that eat 15,000 tokens just to describe them. The plain old command line does the same job for a tiny fraction of that cost. That gap is huge. It shapes how much the agent can get done in one go. Codex flips the whole thing around. It clones your code into a sealed cloud box, no web access by default. The agent grinds away on its own and sends back the result. OpenAI also plugged Chrome DevTools right into the Codex agent. It can grab page shots, take screen caps, and click through the UI. That means it spots visual bugs and test fixes by driving the app. On top of that, each Codex run gets its own short-lived tracking setup logs and metrics that pop up for that task and vanish after. Say you tell it, get startup time under 800 milliseconds. That turns into a goal it can truly gauge, not just guess at. Where Claude Code hands the agent your controls, your shell, your secrets, your SSH keys, Codex gives the agent its own set of controls inside a safe room. More locked down by default, but less able to reach your day-to-day tools. Here's where it gets really fun, the big blank slate problem. Picture a team of devs working in shifts. Each new dev walks in with zero clue about what the last person did. That's the reality when an AI bounces between fresh sessions. Anthropic solved this with a system, not just clever prompts. Claude Code runs a two-step setup. A starter agent kicks things off, it maps out a feature list, writes a launch script, opens a progress file, and makes a clean first save. After that, a builder agent picks up each new session. It chips away at one feature per sitting and drops notes for whoever comes next. The progress file plus your Git log turn into the agent's long-term recall. Each new round follows the same steps: read the notes, check the commit history, run tests so nothing's broken, then grab the next task. The big move here is that the harness forces small steps. Without that guardrail, the model tries to build it all at once, runs out of room, and dumps a mess for the next session to untangle. With it, each session gets sharper than the one before. OpenAI's recall setup is the flip side. Because Codex runs in a sandbox, if something isn't in the repo, the agent can't see it. Full stop. So design choices, bug patterns, product rules, all of it goes into docs right inside the project. Their crew shipped a 1 million-line product in 5 months with nothing but Codex agents. No hand-typed code. About 1,500 pull requests. 3 devs kicked it off. Their big surprise: early speed was slow, not because the code was bad, but because the project lacked enough guardrails and feedback loops for the agent to aim at big goals. And here's a twist they hit along the way. Codex copies the coding style that's there now, including sloppy stuff. That causes drift. At first, the team burned each Friday cleaning up what they called AI slop. That couldn't last, so they baked golden rules into the repo and set up cleanup bots. Background Codex tasks scan for patterns that don't match and open fix-it pull requests on their own. The repo ends up policing itself. One harness teaches the agent to recall, the other teaches the code to hold the knowledge. Both paths work, but what you build for one doesn't carry over neatly to the other. But it doesn't end there. These tools are pulling apart in at least 5 ways, and each one builds on the last. We've hit execution and memory. Now let's look at context handling, tool hookups, and multi-agent teamwork. These are the gaps that sneak into your daily flow and only bite when you try to switch. On context, both teams learned the hard way that cramming in more info isn't better unless it's organized. OpenAI tried dumping all their rules into one big file. It flopped. When it's all tagged must read, nothing stands out. The file turned stale fast, so they built layered, linked docs the agent could browse on its own. They locked down a strict setup with check directions between layers and tested it all with linters written by Codex, of course. And the linter errors doubled as fix-it guides. When the agent broke a rule, the error said exactly how to patch it. Anthropic went a new way. Claude Code keeps tools and skills as files on your machine and lets the agent pull them on demand through a search tool. It grabs just what it needs, right when it needs it. Claude Code shrinks context by auto-condensing old info and spinning off sub-agents with clean windows. Codex gets total separation, each job in its own box with zero bleed between tasks. In practice, Claude Code wins when one job needs deep grasp of one code repo. Codex wins when you're firing off lots of separate tasks at once. Both tools use MCP, the Model Context Protocol that Anthropic built, and that OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, and the Linux Foundation now back. But under that shared standard, they go in new ways. Claude Code treats skills as markdown files and scripts on your drive. The agent sees just short names and blurbs, maybe 50 to 100 tokens worth. It reads the full details only when it picks one to use. That's token management woven right into the tool layer. Codex runs a 2-way JSON-RPC server next to your stack, opening up Git, test runners, Chrome DevTools, app logs, and metrics as callable endpoints. It goes deep, but it expects you to live in that cloud setup. The gap is so wide that Composio's test crew had to build a custom bridge just to hook Codex up to Figma and Jira MCPs. Now here's where it gets wild. Multi-agent work is the gap you can't ignore. Claude Code spins up helper agents that each get their own fresh window plus shared task lists and tracking. One handles the API, one does the front end. A third writes tests, and they pass notes to each other the whole time. It sends fast, cheap model runs out to explore, and brings the big decisions back to the strong model. That's guided teamwork with a human steering from above. Codex keeps each job in full lockdown. Agents sync through the repo, often just Git branches that get merged later. Much safer for hands-off runs since agents can't mess with each other, can't peek at each other's state, and can't chain failures. But the live handoff and parallel flow isn't as smooth yet. This is where a tool face-off becomes a planning call. One power user's growth arc tells you all of it. He began with a basic /commit shortcut, just getting the model to save and push code the same way each time. Next, he wanted agents in split branches, so he wired that up. Then he automated planning. Then he chained builds together. Then batch runs. By month 6, he had 6 stacked layers of custom workflow, each relying on the one before it, each tied to Claude Code setup, its skill files, its context splits, its sub-agent model. Jumping to another harness didn't mean learning new buttons. It meant tearing down the entire chain and starting over in a system that might not even have the same building blocks. Now picture that times each dev on your team, each project, each config file, each MCP plug they've set up. That's the lock-in no one's counting. This isn't a subscription trap. It's a bet on a whole way of working baked into a harness. This feels a lot like the early cloud wars. Back in 2010, you could have said AWS and Azure were basically twins. Both had virtual machines and blob storage. You'd have been right on paper and dead wrong on strategy. The teams that saw how Lambda would change app design in ways Azure Functions wouldn't, they placed smarter bets that paid off for a decade. We're at that same fork right now with AI coding tools. The models look close on paper. The wrappers are splitting along lines that'll decide what's doable 2 years from now. And buying choices are being made by people staring at scores, not seeing the harness underneath. So what do you actually do with all this? If you write code for a living, the days of picking one tool are fading. The devs pulling the most value right now run both and send each task to the right place. Claude Code for planning, running your shell, tracing how parts of the code link up, it'll fire off sub-agents, hand exploration to fast, cheap runs, and it's better at surfacing ideas you missed. Codex for the real build, because code from that sealed sandbox tends to ship with fewer bugs. Use one to double-check the other. Now and then, let Codex review what Claude wrote. It'll flag things Claude skipped. The real skill isn't mastering one tool. It's reading the task in front of you and picking the harness that fits it best. If you lead a team, you're not just choosing a tool to roll out. You're choosing a mindset to build around, and if you go hybrid, how you move work across that line. That's a process puzzle, not a buying decision. How does your team route tasks? Do you use one agent to check the other's output? Are you putting time into Claude MD files that grow in value? How do you weigh Claude Code's full access strength against Codex's sandbox safe mode? These questions never show up on a vendor chart, but they should guide what you do. And look, this isn't staying inside engineering. Claude Code was the base for Anthropic's Cowork product, the same harness idea wrapped for knowledge work. It's blowing up in use. These clashing models for how AI agents run are spilling into marketing, product, customer success, and ops through 2026. If you're a non-tech leader making budget calls, hear this: your team isn't asking you to buy a wrench. They're asking you to pick a workbench and a bet on how people and AI team up. That shapes your speed and how safe you are. It drives how fast you hire and ramp up new staff, and it sets your cost to switch for years. The tool your team grabs today shapes what kind of tools they can build next and whether a new hire ramps in a week or needs months to learn the playbook. The question people ask which model is best has such a short shelf life. Models get better all the time. Any edge from one release fades fast. But the question under that one adds up. Two of the biggest AI companies are placing real bets on how people and AI should work side by side. And they believe so hard in those bets, they're tuning their models to run best inside their own harness. The right question isn't which tool costs less. It's which style fits how your team works and what does it cost to change your mind. The answer is most often a lot. And it grows each quarter because each quarter your team piles more process on top of the setup they went with. Treat a harness choice as a long-term bet because that's what it is. The rest we'll find out the hard way. Now, you know enough to spot it early, and that's a massive head start. Drop a comment telling me which harness your team is betting on, and hit subscribe if you want to stay ahead of these choices.